In some of your videos, you talk quite a lot about the pleasure and pain seesaw. What do you mean by that? What's kind of the,
so human nature is core is very simple, right? We try and avoid pain or anything we perceive as being painful, and we try and seek pleasure, right? So if you put your hand on a red oven and you burn yourself, that's pain, and nobody wants to put their hand back, right? But in most things in life, there's an element of pain, right, before we get pleasure. You go to work, we'll call that pain. To get paid, to buy nice things, we'll call that pleasure. You learn to drive a car, we'll call that pain. To have the freedom to get from A to Z, we'll call that pleasure. That's how life works, right? But when you use the pain and... Can you hold that? Yeah, the pain and pleasure are the wrong way around, right? So you get a perception of pleasure first, and the pain comes later. They're the wrong way around. And what happens is you think it's always going to be different. You're going to enjoy it. And it's only at the 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning that you're beating yourself up. So what you've got to do is swap pain and pleasure back around to the way they should be so you don't want to use anymore. And that's the pain and pleasure syndrome. But it goes one further, right? Because pain and pleasure are co-located in the brain. That means they're in exactly the same place inside of your brain, right? And they're like a seesaw. So what happens is when you use, you get pleasure, right? And the pain is tipped down, right? And then, of course, your brain is trying to create homeostasis. It's trying to create an even balance. But it can't do that because once you've been in pleasure, it's going to create pain. And nobody likes being in pain, so what do? They go and drink more or they go and use more, so they tip it back to pleasure. And that's the pain and pleasure syndrome because your brain's always trying to create balance, but it can't. You know, nobody likes to come down. I mean, I get clients who binge, and one of the reasons they go on binge is they don't like the come down. You know, that's the worst thing for them. They actually use until they literally pass out. So that's pain and pleasure and how the syndrome works and how you've got to change it around.